And today we're going to talk about the field of Latin American writing studies in higher education. We're going to talk for, my presentation is 20 minutes or so long. This field, the Latin American writing studies field, has been strikingly productive during the last decade or so. However, you may not be familiar with its striving scholarly production. Let me show you just some covers of special issues published in Latin America during the last decade, devoted to reading and especially writing in higher education. Here you are. So these 14 special issues have been published in just a decade, from 2013 to 2022, and are mostly located in Colombia, Icala twice, upper left, Enunciación, Signo y Pensamiento and Grafía, Brazil, to the right, Delta twice, also Signum y Lado de Esterro, Chile, bottom left, Literatura y Lingüística, Lenguas Modernas, Signos and Pel, and Mexico, Revista Mexicana de Investigación Educativa. I might have missed some special issues, actually. And please notice that all of them are open access, and all these journals are indexed in different international indexes. For instance, if I'm not wrong, because this changes, from month to month, 11 out of the 14 issues are indexed in Scopus. And this is actually one of Latin American writing studies feature, indexed journals that are still open access, university-based, and not for profit. And this is not a matter of just special issues. In Latin America, there are at least 3 journals entirely dedicated to reading and writing, which regularly publish scholarship on reading and writing. Revista Electrónica Leer, Escribir y Descubrir is the official venue of the Literacy Association in Latin America and is located in both the Dominican Republic and the USA. Revista Traslaciones is the official venue of the UNESCO Chair for Reading and Writing and is located in Argentina. And brand new, just released, Revista Latinoamericana de Estudios de la Escritura. This is the official venue for ALES, the Latin American Association for Writing Studies in Higher Education, and is published by the WAC Clearinghouse. So do you think now that there is such a thing as Latin American writing studies? Well, according to Wikipedia, no, there isn't, neither in English nor in Spanish. But, as I was preparing this presentation, I thought, let's ask ChatGPT, as this is the sexiest topic everybody is crazy about these days, right? So yes, the chat box is right. There is a field, and we may call it Latin American writing studies. So artificial intelligence, ladies and gentlemen. So it's right, or is it right? Because, the following paragraphs are odd. They read, I'm going to read it. Scholars working in the field often focus on the works of specific authors, such as Gabriel García Márquez, Jorge Luis Borges, or Octavio Paz, as well as broader trends and movements in Latin American literature and culture. Well, not really. So our first lesson learned here is that there is a thriving field, but it is still not sufficiently registered in the most common popular venues we use to know more about this kind of topics. And I guess that's why we are all here today. So thanks again for coming. So who are the scholars who do research in the field? I asked ChatGPT this question too, and it found it completely impossible to give a list of any names beyond classic literature authors, who have nothing to do with this. So we need to do some research to answer it. So first, let's take a look at the field in terms of influential authors within and without Latin America. Natalia Avila-Reyes did some research on this topic around 2015. This is a publication from 2017, and identified the most influential authors. As you can see, there are authors from Latin America, such as Argentinian authors Paula Carlino, Elvira Arnoux, and Alicia Vázquez, or Chilean authors Giovanni Parodi, Juanita Marinkovic, and Marian Peronar. But there are also many non-Latin American authors, most notably Tom van Dyck, Charles Beiserman, Daniel Casani, Michael Halliday, Mikhail Bakhtin, Bereiter, Flower, and John Swales. And these authors really talk from quite different fields, different epistemologies, and different traditions. But here in Latin America, you know, they are often quoted together. Ávila Reyes goes further and explores this particular disciplinary topography. She identifies the influence of authors who are situated in rhetoric and composition. You can see that on the left part of your screen. Academic literacies, language pedagogy, linguistics, and psychology. So that will be the disciplinary topography of the field here in Latin America. And they are quoted in a certain way. As you can see on figure 4, on the right, linguistically oriented authors or works, as is the case with certain Beiserman's works, we don't consider Beiserman a linguist, they are cited together here in red, in contrast with another much more heterogeneous group of authors. Let's now move to Latin American authors only, and let's expand our scope to the first 2 decades of the 21st century. In a forthcoming article, Valentina Faller, Jonathan Marin, and myself quoted citations of Latin American authors in the special issues I showed before. We confirmed the centrality of authors such as Parodi, Arnoux, Vázquez, and especially Carlino, but we also identified authors who have become more influential in the last decade, such as Venegas, Moyano, Motta-Roth, Zavala, Molina, and Natale, together with more senior authors, we might say, who are not mostly related to higher education, such as Machado, Kleiman, and Kalman from Brazil and Mexico. So, and this is another interesting trend. These are countries other than Chile and Argentina. Actually, our research can help us understand other tendencies. We can confirm that the most influential countries in the field are Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Colombia, and Mexico. The majority of influential authors write in Spanish. And we have also identified a peak in publications in the last 5 years. I think that a major finding, and it was completely unexpected, was also the influence of female authors. Women are by far the most cited, hence influential, authors in our corpus. In this figure, we can compare this tendency to reports on influential authors, not authors in general, but influential authors in the USA, where there is a more balanced situation, but still men are, surprise, more cited than women. So, and this relative influence of female and male authors in the USA was based on a famous study by Mueller from 2012. And how is writing understood and studied in Latin America? Cecilia Colombi from California and I quoted 97 articles published in special issues on reading and writing in higher education, and found that writing is conceptualized in 6 different ways in the region. As a product with a focus on text students write, as a process with a focus on cognitive processes that take place when writing, as learning with a focus on learning gains mediated by writing, as practices with a focus on what people think and value about writing and how people use writing to participate in their communities, as programs with a focus on how institutions respond to writing instruction needs, and finally, as teaching with a focus on how teachers teach and use writing in their classes. And we can quantify the preferences in our corpus. And we found a clear preference for studying writing together with reading as practices, as you can see, while, for example, learning and mental processes are not really that popular. This preference for studying writing practices is on the rise and has become even more popular in the last 5 years. In another study with an international team, we coded all writing-related articles, 81, published in the journals that were the most influential according to the community. We applied a survey to identify these 4 journals. First, Signo y Seña from Argentina. Second, Revista Brasileña de Lingüística Aplicada from Brazil. Third, Signos from Chile. And fourth, Lenguaje, language from Colombia. We also coded certain topics and tried to connect them to the journal's location. For example, we found that the Argentinian journal tends to publish discourse studies papers, which is consistent with the country's and journal's traditions. In contrast, the Brazilian journal focuses more on genre and digital literacy, while the Colombian journal is more focused on teaching. We also here confirmed that reading alone is not a sexy topic anymore compared to tendencies in the region in the previous decades, and that writing has been consistently the most popular topic during the last 15 years. Additionally, in the study, we confirmed that Latin American authors tend to be eclectic when it comes to theories and frameworks, a mixture of certain traditions, authors. You can see on your screen the relative frequency and their connection to certain journals of ethnography, new literacy studies, social discursive interactionism, related to Jean-Paul Brancard, for example, who is very popular in Brazil and Argentina, languages for specific purposes, multimodality, rhetoric, corpus linguistics, textile linguistics, cognitivism, and writing in the disciplines and across the curriculum. These categories emerge from the corpus. Let's now move to some of the milestones that have shaped the field. We have explored these aspects in a few articles in the last years. The region has seen a spectacular expansion of higher education since the 1980s in context of inequity and segregation. Public policies for expanding opportunities to access higher education have become much more common in our institutions in the last decade or 2 decades. Writing instruction has varied from one country to another. For example, multilingual writing, so-called laboratories, are common in Brazil. Argentina has made first-year writing courses mandatory in most universities. Colombia, for example, has been a pioneer in writing tutors, writing tutoring, and Chile has seen many writing programs in different institutions. We also have to mention the huge influence of a journal, Lectura y Vida, Reading and Life. This is was the official Spanish journal of the International Literacy Association, and it was published in Argentina for 3 decades and was very influential at the time. Some venues and institutions have also been very influential. The UNESCO Chair for Reading and Writing has been very active since the mid-90s, mostly in Spanish-speaking countries in Latin America. CIGET, launched in Brazil in 2003, is a convention that takes place regularly and has made genres a very popular topic in the region. ALES, the Latin American Association for Writing Studies, has gathered scholars from all over the region since 2016, and the Writing Programs Centers Association, created in 2014, has also been and still is very active in connecting scholars and initiatives. By the way, please visit ALES website and become a member. It's free. Just Google ALES. You will be able to join a very active community of scholars and participate in the ALES conventions. And you still have time to submit a proposal for the forthcoming next November convention in Chile. You can also download for free the almost 80 books and monographs published in the region by ALES members. Well, from a more qualitative perspective, we may wonder, what is it that is typical of Latin American writing studies and that is different to scholarship somewhere else? We have explored this topic in several articles. First, Latin American writing studies usually promote open access, not-for-profit, state-funded, and multilingual research, as I have shown before. This Latin American model implies that readers can easily and freely access recent and high-quality scientific products that contribute to social development. Second, writing studies in Latin America often hold a critical view on reading, writing, and literacy teaching, as research in the region has been mainly carried out in context of inequity and segregation. Third, as we have seen, frameworks tend to be hybrid as they combine theories and traditions developed separately in other regions and languages. Perspectives often make room for different epistemologies from the humanities, from the social sciences, because the field has been interdisciplinary since its recent origin, while in the margins of hegemonic global scientific production. The predominant lines of research currently seek the characterization of student genres features, the design and impact assessment of teaching initiatives, and the study of student writers' beliefs and literacy practices. So, as a conclusion, I have to tell you the truth. After that disappointing interchange with ChatGPT, I pressed the button regenerate response just once, and it got incredibly better. This is ChatGPT's second version of an answer to my question, and it reads, yes, Latin American writing studies is an academic field that focuses on the study of writing practices, pedagogies, and literacies in Latin America. This interdisciplinary field draws on theories and methods from linguistics, cultural studies, literary studies, and composition studies to investigate the ways in which writing is used, taught, and learned in different contexts and communities across Latin America. I was shocked when I read this 5 seconds after, the first answer. And I thought, well, this may be the introductory paragraph to our future Wikipedia entry. Thank you very much.